Hey, how you doing out there? Welcome into the Tom McManus Webcast here on the Suck It Up Network at SuckItUpUSA.com. It is Tuesday of Thanksgiving week. Of course, we have a lot to be thankful for. I'm very thankful. My good friend Bob Goin is here, part of the webcast, as we do something a little bit different on Thanksgiving week. But Bob, great to have you once again on the network and talking college football. Lots going on.
Yeah, it really is. It is a great week with Thanksgiving, and this new webcast thing is interesting to me.
Isn't it?
Since I just learned how to shut off a cell phone.
Yeah, no doubt. You get to watch yourself talk, Bob.
That's
what it is. So
yeah, that's
technology.
Nancy says I watch myself talk a lot.
Yeah, there you go.
There's a lot going on in sports, and it's nice to be here to talk to you.
And you got a family flag football game coming up in a couple days. The old Thanksgiving Day tradition in the Goin family, huh?
Yeah, we split up, and that's where the fight starts. Who gets who, and who gets stuck with me.
That's great.
But we do it, and the grandchildren love it. Both the granddaughters and the grandsons, they like it, and we play a little touch football, and we have big breakfast first, then play football, and then everybody gets ready for a great Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah.
We're going to hit 22-24 this year.
All right, so that sounds wonderful.
Well,
I know you just like me. We both have a lot to be thankful for, and all that life brings us every day. All right, so college football, the BCS we'll get into. Notre Dame #1. What a year it's been. They still have USC. Some games will work it out, no question about that. But let's talk about realignment, Bob. You've been saying this now for years. I should have listened to you. I should have come up with the idea myself, but you were absolutely right. You were saying that there's going to be these super conferences, and you better get on board. And I think Maryland looks at it that way. I think Rutgers looks at it that way. They've bettered their position in the world of college football and basketball presently and for the future. But what a big bit of news with now the Big East and the ACC losing pretty good members from their conferences.
Yeah, I think one thing you can declare is the Big East did.
Yeah,
I mean that one we've been talking about. Yeah. I don't believe Boise and San Diego State's going to come across the country in 2014 because it makes no sense.
No, right.
So they're going to go back to their original conference. They're probably going to get a little bit more cut of the pie and stay there. I think you could just almost declare them dead. I think that the Big Ten will try to get to 16.
Yeah.
And I think it might be. I think the Big Four. I think the ACC. They got rid of #6 conference in the Big East.
Right.
Now I think they're focusing on what they can do to water down the ACC. To make it this 4-16 team league and see that this is what it's going to be. And I'm afraid that the heat comes back now on Florida State and Clemson to be associated in that league.
You're right.
Where you might see them getting overtures from the SEC and the Big 12.
Sure.
And maybe offers that they can't turn down.
What about Miami, Bob? You'd have to factor they're not going to be left out in the dust.
No, Miami.
Are you kidding me? They're going to be somewhere.
Yeah, I think that it's not done yet. And if they get to this 4-16 team league that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
The TV is showing them what a playoff of 4 will do.
Right.
If they get to a playoff of 8 with those 4 major conferences and put the TV packages, because really mostly the major basketball teams are in that group.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't be leaving many of them out. With those conferences. Right. So I think that it's really developing, and the job's going to open for you to be the czar of the whole thing, Tom.
Sure.
You can go in and be the czar. The commissioner of all this major new deal.
Well,
they need to hire you.
Just basketball real quick. UConn's next. I mean, they're not going to just be left out to dry, right? They'll be going to ACC, right?
And I'm not so sure what the ACC will do. They've got to get that'll take them back to 14. They may these conference commissioners like to get one up them, so they might try to go to 16.
Right. And
if they do that, maybe might go to University of Cincinnati, who I've been working underground to help them, which is a great city, a Fortune 500 city, a great state, great recruiting, very pro recruiting, would be a nice fit for the ACC. And a Research One university, they fit in academically. And if you take Connecticut and Cincinnati, then I don't know if they'll go Louisville,
Right.
But if they don't, they'll go South Florida. You know, and if they go to South Florida, you got another great university, and it gives you that Florida market more. So I don't think they're done. It's not done.
No, I don't think so either. Bob Goin here with me on the Tom McManus Webcast, former athletic director at Florida State University and the University of Cincinnati. We both have ties to the Big East. I'm one of the first members to play in the Big East in 1991. You brought Cincinnati to the Big East.
That's right.
We've been very critical of the Big East, and rightfully so. You let every horse out the freaking stable, out the barn. So they kind of put it to themselves. But you're right. It's not done. What would Cincinnati? Big Ten seems like that would be a good fit for them.
That's one that you've got Ohio State in there. I don't know how Ohio State would react. They love having the whole state, in one of the Big Ten.
Yeah.
They have great blocking power.
Yeah.
University of Virginia used to have it against Virginia Tech too,
right,
in the ACC. But
right,
maybe that'll change. Maybe they can see there's enough money to come. If you would put Cincinnati and Ohio State on the TV conference package, wow,
right,
that covers your state.
Absolutely.
And that would be big.
Yeah.
And that's really what this is all about now, Tom. Yeah. This conference expansion isn't about someone said, well, our football team's better than our football. That's not what they're looking at.
Right.
They're looking at this conference syndication, buying packages from grandmas and grandpas we talked about years ago.
Right.
Aunts and uncles, nieces and nephews get to see their daughters, their family playing in sports other than football and basketball.
Right, absolutely.
So it's a big deal, and Jim Delaney sees it, and I think that the Big Ten is going to give each member a check pretty close to between 25 and 30 million.
That's up from 22 a year ago.
Yeah, and that's a pretty nice check for an AD to get.
Yeah.
To help run an athletic program when one half of it is taken care of by conference affiliation.
Right.
I'd be the first one in line to make sure that we were in that boat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that makes the sustainability and they be able to afford to pay what you want to for the non-revenue sports. That's a good move. It's a great move for Maryland. And
I think,
it's a great move for the Big Ten. And this Delaney is not done, and Slive's not going to like that he got a one-up, and neither is the Big 12 and Stewart out there. Scott out in the Pac-12.
Right.
It's just not done yet.
Bob, you have to think of schools like Wake Forest, North Carolina State. These smaller, not powerhouses in the ACC. Where do they go? I'm sure the ACC will stay intact, but if you're not going to have that chance to get to the top four, right? That's not going to be something that you want. Did this start, last week when we talked about the Big Five, the Mountain West, right? The
Small Five.
Conference,
Small Five.
Conference USA, those
Sun Belt.
Yeah, the Sun Belt.
That had me worried about, again, as I reflect on where Cincinnati is in that, and where we worked so hard to get them in the Big East when Syracuse and Pitt and Boston College was there when I went in.
BC's another.
And that was a great move for us at that time.
Yeah.
Now I've been talking to their president and their athletic director, and I talked to them months ago, that it's become a relevant conference because of leadership. I'm not talking about anything else. But what happens? I think they've watered the Big East down. Let's put them dead. Yeah. If Clemson and Florida State decides to take lucrative offers at standing here, they could go to the SEC. Florida State could go wherever they want, and there's going to be pressure put on Florida State, Tom, because they don't like the idea of Duke coming in. They're not going to like the idea of having Connecticut at home.
Right.
There's some heat. Wake Forest, they're great universities. I have nothing to say. But when you talk about filling an 80,000 seat stadium, that's not going to cut it.
Right.
Florida State's non-conference schedule next year is going to be released. What I've heard is going to be Idaho, and it's going to be Wofford.
Right.
And it's going to be.
That's why they're 10th in the BCS.
And they got Nevada. There's Nevada, Idaho, and Wofford, and then to Florida for their non-conference game. And you throw in Duke and Wake, and that's not going to sell 80,000 seats.
It's not going to get you the title.
And it's not going to get you the title. So there may be real heat. This may open up whether Florida State can stay in the ACC,
right,
with what's going on right now.
Absolutely. Listen, Boston College, where do they go? They're great in hockey, so maybe the Big Ten. You'd renew the Penn State-Boston College rivalry that was ongoing back when I was playing there. They may be a decent fit, but that's that. And we've been talking about this. These schools that are in these, like, what are you going to do? You better do something. You better be proactive. I didn't hear Maryland at all. Good for them, keeping it under the radar and making the move that they made. They've bettered their situation without a doubt.
I mean, that's
proactive.
That was a great conference. The ACC is a great conference.
Yeah.
And but I think it's been watered down, and I think the concern is that they're not going to generate the kind of money. Yeah, I don't care what they say. You got to generate revenue, and they can love you in the ESPN and ABC. But what are you going to bring to us? It's not. Well, it's all about what kind of money can you generate, what kind of interest can you bring, and that's what pays the bills. And right now, I'm very much concerned about the AC. I've given up on the Big East.
Yeah, Big East is over.
And I do feel sorry because Boston College and Pitt, and we've talked about this so many times, but think about the fourth commissioner. Start with Shangizi, who let this happen. Then they hired John Marinetta, who is an AD from Providence, who I like, but is he commissioner in the time of the heat? What was going on in college? They weren't.
No.
They weren't prepared for it.
No.
And so they've taken a conference when Boston College leaves. I have some Miami leagues that go to the ACC or Virginia Tech league, but you can't lose Boston College, Syracuse, Pitt, West Virginia, and Notre Dame.
Right.
You can't lose them. You had Notre Dame. You had Notre Dame at the front door. You just had to push them through the front door.
Right.
And they lost all that because of watering down, and that's why Notre Dame's in the ACC. So I blame it. I truly blame it on the commissioners and on the presidents, and letting the Catholic University of basketball only carrying as much weight as the football, basketball school. So it's all leadership, and now they're paying for it. ACC is the next one on the radar.
Yeah.
If they dissolve that, then the four big commissioners, what we know, we talked about, they could be in cahoots and say, we're it.
What kind of trickle-down potential is there with Notre Dame, who just made this alliance with the ACC? Do they maybe rethink their stance, just kind of wait and see type deal, or
no, I don't think so. I don't think so. They picked up themselves with 5 non-conference games.
Yeah.
That's hard to schedule.
Yeah, right.
So if you can get a non-conference game, you can play 7 national games, and you got 5 non-conference, and the non-conference are going to be, a Florida State maybe once in a while, but you're going to get a Duke and a Wake Forest.
Yeah.
It's better than Wofford and Idaho and Nevada.
Yeah.
So they have it made as long as they keep that together. It may come that Notre Dame, have to rethink the Big Ten.
Yeah.
If the ACC loses Florida State and Clemson.
Yeah.
If they lose those two, boy, oh boy.
I think eventually, and maybe I'm in the mind, I think eventually Notre Dame's going to have to jump on board somewhere, right? I mean, how can you, like, this year you're getting away with it, and next year it's only 4. I think eventually you'll probably get to 6, 8 teams in a playoff, but it's not when you don't have that conference championship like we've talked about. You don't play that extra game. I don't know how you can, figure that all out when you're looking for and searching for that true national champion. So I think eventually Notre Dame's going to have to jump onto a conference and be a part of this thing. And, obviously with their own network, that convolute, gets everything convoluted and whatnot. But that's going to be interesting to see what they do, because you look at that, okay, they got USC. That'll be interesting, although I don't think Barkley's playing. But then you've got, Alabama. They got to play Georgia. So if the season ended, Alabama beats Auburn, Notre Dame beats USC, season's over if they didn't have, neither one had a conference championship, right? And they're going to the national title. Now Alabama, what's their risk? Well, we got to play Georgia. If we get beat, we're out of the national title, and Georgia may be in.
That's right.
And obviously it is what it is, but I think they got to get them all on the same page. It'll be interesting, and like Mr. Goin says here, it's not over. It's far from over. I'm a little worried on some teams that are going to be left at the altar. They're going to be left behind with just not what they thought that they had in mind. All right, let's look at the weekend that was. There are a lot of little news and notes I want to get your opinion on. We'll do the weekend that was. We'll look at the BCS. I want to start with Miami and this self-imposed second bowl ban. But I mean, why do they punish these current kids? I mean, they work their butt off. The rule is what? You get 6 wins, you're bowl eligible. Why would you did it last year? We talked about this last year. Okay, we couldn't even understand that. But okay, 1 year did. Now you go back again and self-impose the ban. What does that do for them in the eyes of the NCAA? Anything?
Well, I don't think. I think. Oh, sure. It does. It might say okay there, but the same people, that president down at Miami.
Yeah, Shalala.
Yeah, and now their AD ran out the door. You know, that was there because he's at Nebraska.
Right.
So he's smart. He's out of there. What bothers me, Tom, once again, is she's worrying about the image of the university, and she's really going to show leadership. Yeah. But those kids that were on the field had nothing to do with it.
I know.
They earned themselves. They can't play in the. They're not going to play in the ACC Conference Championship.
No, I know.
Again,
I know.
Which is a real nice award to have. Then they can't go to a bowl game because she wants them to think, well, look at me, I'm pro. But what about those kids that have done all that work? And you know what? And why not tell them before? Why not have enough guts to tell them before the season?
Yeah. By the way, we're not going.
We're not going to a bowl. So I don't care what you do.
Right.
We're not going to any bowl game. You know. And she knew that. She knew that, and the AD knew it. And they did. That's why one AD ran out the door. Yeah. Because he wasn't up front telling those kids. Right. That this is going to happen. I think it's disgraceful.
It is disgraceful. I agree with you.
I know I'd be fired as an AD today, but I would not stand for that.
Well, you know, Bob, too, you said it best. I mean, if those kids knew going in, freshmen coming in, you would factor that in heavily. Wait a minute, you're self-imposing? Wait, what? Yeah. Wait a minute. Then I'm going to Ohio State. Yeah. You know, I mean, they're going to be bad too, but you know, they're going to come out of it, and they're a lot better than you are, right? I mean, it is a travesty.
I mean, I think you know, I really, it's disgraceful to do that to those young men that have done that, and then spring it on them. Right when they're getting ready to go to play in the conference championship game. We're not going. We're going to self-impose that. They knew what they were going to do. They're not truthful. Then they wonder. Then they put kids on probation because they lied. They don't let them play. And they mislead them. They misled this football team. I agree. And I am saying that they should. The board of trustees ought to take a look at the leadership of that university. No doubt. I agree. Maybe they need a new president.
How about the Ohio State? I think it was boosters that wrote a letter to President Obama, pardon the team. Make them lift the ban. We're undefeated. We should have a shot at it all. People are crazy.
Yeah, well,
people are crazy.
You know, we talked about this silly thing at Ohio State.
Yeah. No, right.
I mean, that's a one-day admission of kids taking something they shouldn't have taken. The most they would have would have been 1 game suspension, and I'm not even sure if you're going to pay it back if they would have got anything.
No,
I mean, I've been in that world. When you're up front right away, and you say, "This is how we're going to handle it," they're going to say, "Well, you still might have to sit, not go over. What game do you want to give up, or what?" And I'm not sure that's going to happen. I'm not sure that would happen.
Oh, that whole thing. You know, here you can either miss the Sugar Bowl or miss 5 games next year. Yeah. Right? Throw a party and even return to the school. Yeah. I mean, what a travesty that whole thing was. And, hey, the argument still is, if they earn the pants, aren't they theirs? Yeah. Right? I know that whole, was, you know.
That's there. Every time I look around, there's some things that I ask about, you know, where's the consistency? We talked about Penn State.
Oh, yeah.
Poor Penn State. And not because they're money fine. But what they're doing to our athletes makes no sense to me.
Agreed.
And plus the method that was used.
I agree.
But it's I made it very clear. I'm very unhappy for the kids that played football at Miami and that decision. Just because the president wants to think she can stand on a pedestal and say, "Look at me."
No, right. Exactly.
That's the way I look at it.
No, I agree. It's you know what, you're really you know, would Al Golden have stuck around if he knew all this was going to happen? You know, you kind of lured him in, obviously.
Well, he's making $3 million.
Yeah.
So I mean, he may stick around. You know, right. I don't feel sorry for him either.
No, right.
I mean, he should have been in there asking the right questions and say, you know what? Hey, where where's this going? He should be telling my story to that player.
Yeah, you're right.
He's the guy there saying, look, these kids should have been told before that ball was kicked in the preseason.
Yeah.
They weren't going to go to the conference.
You're right.
That's not what they were told.
He
should have been, but he's making $3 million. I don't feel sorry for him either.
Yeah.
He could
so
go.
He's on
he could
the
stay.
docket too.
Yeah, he's not one that I would see. But I
Judge Bob Goin. Right? Damn right.
That's what I said. If I come back, I'm coming back as a judge.
As a judge, there
Guilty.
you go. Bob.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah, I agree with you. You made a hell of an argument. You won me over.
Yeah.
Al Golden, you son of a gun, you should have done better, right?
Yeah.
Should have told those kids.
Well, he may have thought it on the way to the bank.
Right.
You know?
Maybe.
But I think
Depositing.
when he looked at that check, when you divide $3 million by 12,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, right.
then I think you just deposit the check.
I
and
think
forget
so.
About those other kids.
You're right about that. Bob Goin here, former athletic director at Cincinnati, at Florida State, and current Harris Poll contributor. Bob, how you enjoying it still? You still? I know you don't like the 15 through 25, but overall, you excited about where it's at and.
I said that the SEC was going to be in one half of it, and I think if Notre Dame does what they're supposed, and I'm going to tell you what, Notre Dame better do what they're doing.
Oh gosh!
Because otherwise, if Alabama beats Auburn,
right?
Georgia Tech's in the championship game. Georgia's in the championship game.
Yep.
But so the Georgia Tech game could be the Gators. The Gators go down and beat. They're number 4 in this game.
I know.
They're number 4.
Yeah.
So not by the coaches or not by
Right.
Harris Poll,
No, right.
but by the computer.
Right. They're 6 in the AP, Florida. Well, listen. At the end of the day, you got to take care of business. You know, the Oregon-Stanford game that was a compelling game. Give Stanford a lot of credit. I mean, that was a good football team and a big win for them.
Football team against Notre Dame.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. They took them to OT as well. That was a great game.
Yeah,
that was a great game. I agree with you.
It's fun, and I think that it just shows that 4-team playoff is going to be good.
Yeah.
8-team playoff is going to be better, and that's what's going to happen. When they see you can get $600 million.
Yeah.
You know, for that 4-game series,
right.
That's a nice chunk of money.
Absolutely,
and that's going to go to over $1 billion when they get to 8 teams.
Here's a little bit of a travesty for Oregon. Okay, you lose to Stanford, but they were 13th, so they're a good team, right? You lose in overtime, field goal with a controversial touchdown. Call to tie the game, right? Now, granted, I'm not one of those that says, "Oh, that's not fair." That's one play out of others that you should have made. Okay, so whatever. You didn't get the call on that one, but they have a tough time jumping up now to get into that title game. And should they've been hurt that bad? It's just
where were they in the Harris Bowl? The Harris Bowl.
I don't have the Harris Bowl.
See, the AP Bowl, you need to get that.
Oh, wait a minute. Here we go.
Because the AP is not what you want. You want the Harris Bowl.
No, I was looking at the BCS overall.
Okay, yeah.
They're 5th overall.
They're 5th in the
BCS, and they're 4th in the Harris Bowl.
Yeah, well, that's what I ranked them 4th.
Okay.
I ranked them 4th.
Yep.
And if Florida, if Alabama or Georgia Tech, if Georgia Tech loses.
Georgia loses.
If Georgia loses to
Georgia Tech this weekend, right?
That's going to hurt.
Yeah.
So then who's going to move up? Oregon's going to have a chance to move back up a little bit. But
although Georgia still goes to the SEC championship game, right?
They still go to the SEC championship game. Okay. But whether that's going to rank them even in the SEC championship number 3.
No, right.
It may not.
And Oregon still has Oregon State,
and then they get the playoff game.
And then they get the playoff game. Yeah.
So I'm not so sure that things can't fall their way.
Back in form.
But I don't think you could put them any further than higher. And I get them in the Harris Bowl.
Yeah.
I put them 4.
Okay.
But I put them ahead of Florida.
You have Georgia, Oregon, Florida.
No,
3, 4, 5.
I have Notre Dame, Alabama, Georgia, Oregon.
Okay. Why does it feel to me this year that every team is a little bit overrated? If that makes sense.
No, I think it does.
Like you look at Notre Dame, and it's great. And I'm not a Notre Dame guy, obviously, but I love their defense. I love that QB. I think Brian Kelly's done a great job. They're back. That's great. But when I look at them, I sit there like they're the best team in the country, hands down, with no questions. The answer to me is no. I look at Alabama. Are they the best? There's still questions about them, right? Florida, you kidding me? the way Florida's been playing, the way that offense has been playing, I don't think they're 4th, 5th, or 6th. You know what I mean? It just seems Oregon. I know, they seem the most legit. Now, granted, that loss hurt them, but they didn't get crushed. Like when you look at Kansas State, Bob. You get crushed like that. There's a chink in the armor, right? There is. That just doesn't. You may get beat. Look, you look at Florida State. The way they lost to North Carolina State. You knew there was a chink in that armor when that happened. Yeah. You're up by 16. You let them come back. Last play does it. Somebody's, missed assignment. The guy's wide open over the middle from the 5-yard line. Touchdown. Game over. Obviously that there's a chink in that. But I look at Oregon. I don't know if there's too big of a chink. I think that they ran into a tough opponent that day. And Stanford came to play, and it was a close game. So I don't know. I get the feeling that everyone's a little bit overrated. Do you get that feeling at all?
Yeah, and the Oregon getting beat at home. Anytime you come to someone's backyard, right now you watch college football, and when you watch the guys that are experts are out in Vegas.
Yeah.
You watch the point spread with a home team.
Right.
When it comes down to it, but you're exact. I tell you. Years ago, when they went down to only bring in 25 athletes, football players a year, they wanted parity.
Right.
What you got now is you have parity.
Yeah.
You got guys going to Florida Atlantic and Florida International that before they were on the surface, they would go to Alabama's walk-ons.
Right.
Some of them.
No, right.
Just to be in that program.
Right.
And try to earn the scholarship after 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to these other programs. So the spread, the wealth is being spread out.
Right.
And it is hard to get that second unit. Right. So when somebody gets hurt, it's not such a big drop off.
Yeah.
And Florida State dropped in my eyes when they lost to NC State, but when they played Virginia Tech at minus 15 yards rushing.
Yeah.
When I knew you could shut them down like that. That shows me they got some issues that have to be resolved.
Then we have to look at Florida beating Louisiana Lafayette on a block punt in November.
Unbelievable,
right? I mean, you got it. There's a chance. That's crazy. You should have crushed them there.
Absolutely,
right? Without a doubt. So we'll, like I said, it's going to work itself out. I look at Georgia, great year, but I can't get the fact that they went up to South Carolina and got. I watch that game, and granted, you fall into these games sometimes, and it's a domino, and you can't get out. It happened to us in Notre Dame. We were 9th, they were 8th. They scored at will. We kept turning the ball over. Every offensive. Next thing you know, it's 35-0, and you're not coming back from that. And but that, I look at that. I look at Georgia. I'm like, okay. So look at Oregon. They lose by 3 in a close one. With everything that went on, I know it's at home.
Yeah.
But then you look at Georgia. Now that was what 4th game of the year, 5th game on the road. Was it 38-7?
Yeah.
So I guess it just depends how you weigh it all out.
Well, Georgia has a chance to prove that they're legitimate.
Yeah.
And they showed signs of greatness. They showed signs of really being a dominant football team.
Yep.
And Oregon has too, and I agree with that. So. I think, again, Tom, that's why the playoff is so valuable.
No doubt.
And I don't want to get to the point where one loss, whether it be Oregon's or Georgia's, knocks them out of the deal. That's why basketball, they can play anything they want to play in November and December because it doesn't make any difference.
They're the only sport, the only level of any sport that doesn't have a playoff system. Even high school, volleyball. Well, there's playoffs.
It's coming.
And it's coming.
It's coming. And what's my job isn't that they didn't have playoffs because of the class missing. Because football doesn't miss classes.
No, right.
They leave Friday after classes are over.
Right.
But the other point is, these presidents are sitting around and looking at millions and millions of dollars coming into their coffer with a playoff. And I don't care what you say, the president's got budget issues too.
Absolutely.
And they can, if their school picks up another $20 million, $25 million with that, they're going to do it. So I think it's on its way.
Let's wrap it up with this on the Tom McManus Webcast here on the Suck It Up Network. It's suckitupusa.com with Mr. Bob Goin, former athletic director, Florida State and Cincinnati, and current Harris Poll contributor. Bob, Florida State this week. A lot going in for both teams, but as heading the program way back when, you know, in the heyday, what does this game mean to a guy like Bob Goin every year?
Well, you know, this was back in there, and they're starting to get back here again. They're both ranked, you know, that really became kind of just a game.
Right.
But now here they are with both the teams ranked.
Yeah.
You know, in the BCS, both of them ranked in all the polls.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a good game. It's a terrific football game. And it's played at Florida State this year, which makes it really. It's 10,000 seats have to be left for Florida to come to the game.
Yeah.
And they'll fill every one of them. It's a terrific game. I expect it to be good. I expect Florida State to win.
Yeah,
I really do. I expect them to win.
That'd be big.
And I think that will be good. I don't think it'll change anything in the BCS much for them.
It'll move them up.
A little bit,
Yeah.
but it won't get them up to where they have a chance for the national championship.
Yeah.
And they're going to be playing in the Orange Bowl, I think. And that's not a bad consolation, but it's a terrific rivalry. You know, way back when we played, we took our own food down there. We didn't want anything from that.
Right.
You know?
Really?
I mean, we took our own towels. We just left everything there, you know. And,
right.
I didn't buy gas in Gainesville. I wouldn't buy a sandwich there.
Right.
You know, so it was just that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And then when Spurrier was there, he would do the same thing.
Yeah.
You know?
And,
it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
You know, it can get a little nasty, but it's not. It's fairly civil.
Yeah.
Still fairly civil.
Absolutely.
Because actually, these guys are so tight.
Right.
They work together.
Right.
Now they get bragging rights, but they still have to go to work Monday.
You're right.
With Florida State people and Florida people.
Right.
So you can go up with your chest pounding a little bit.
Yeah.
But you still have to be fairly civil.
Well, and within families, there's splits.
Oh yeah,
without a doubt, yeah.
Moms and dads.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I go down on my walk. I see a Florida and a Florida State flag
fly. Yeah. You know, there's some battles on that.
Inside. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's great. Well, that's what the pageantry of college ball is all about. Right?
I love it. It's played after Thanksgiving. You know, the teams stay there and they can invite the families and have a nice Thanksgiving dinner and then have a great workout and then play the game. Kind of neat.
Well, I want to wish you the best of luck in the Goin football game coming up in a couple of days. I hope you're ready. You gonna throw the ball around? Are you all-time QB?
I threw a couple last year and then I got benched. They yanked me out of the quarterback spot.
I did.
My arm's not as strong as it used to be.
Okay.
But I can be benched like anyone. But more important, Tom, is what we have so many things to be thankful for.
Yes.
I certainly have been blessed with 4 beautiful children and all my grandchildren.
Yeah, it's great.
They're all doing well, and we have a good family, as you do, and yours is growing. So it's a great time of year for America.
Yep.
And we have a lot to be thankful for.
We sure do.
I know everyone will bow their heads and say that's true.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And, you know, I'm thankful that you take time to come on here and we talk college ball because I love it. I love it. It is fun. It's a great time of the year. Bob Goin, ladies and gentlemen, joins me on Tuesdays on Uncensored on the Suck It Up Network, but right here on the Tom McManus Webcast at the Suck It Up Network. Hey, while you're checking this out after it's done, please visit our sponsor page. Some great businesses all here locally on the First Coast, and they're there for you. Whatever it is you need, whether it's insurance, an automobile, a doctor, places to eat, places to go, and more to come. Please check it out at suckitupusa.com/sponsors. Until next time, happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and we'll see you right here on the Tom McManus Webcast at suckitupusa.com. Have a good one.